On the 10th of September 1985, the Rail Freight Division of BR staged a demonstration entitled Rail Freight Spectacular at Newport Station. This was a commercial event sponsored by the Brewers Whitbreads and was to show potential customers the wide variety of present rail freight operations. In order to provide a contrast, a goods train of 50 years ago was run past the assembled guests, in parallel with a train of the latest stock. The goods train was provided by the Seven Valleys Great Western 2857, together with 26 wagons, augmented by 6 BR ballast wagons. The two trains were assembled at and dispatched from Alexandra Docks Junction, west of Newport Station. After running parallel through the station and across the River Usk, the 56 accelerated away to the east, whilst the 28 reversed into the station for display purposes. Throughout the demonstration, a backdrop was provided by the normal heavy freight traffic through Newport. Further contrasts were in evidence at the West End, where the Iron Duke replica was on display. The same Class 56, together with other rail freight locomotives in the new livery, was on display at Old Oak Commons Open Day, held as part of the GW 150 celebrations. whilst Toton provided current stock at another open day held by the CEGB generating station at Castle Donington. In this case, the Midland 4F from Butterley provided the motive power contrast, giving brake van demonstrations, whilst the power station's own saddle tanks gave a number of run-pasts with loaded coal hoppers. Principal rail freight customer in Cornwall is English China Clays, clay being transported in special four-wheeled wagons along the remains of the Foy branch and the main line from Lostwithiel to Parr. Following the transfer of through freights away from the Settle and Carlisle, local freight from Appleby and Ribblehead is all that remains of the once busy freight traffic. The Ribblehead stone trains cross the viaduct to Bleemore sidings to run round and reverse. West Coast mainline freights bring regular diesel workings under the wires, oil traffic being a major rail freight revenue source. The principal rail freight depot for the Southampton area is at Eastleigh, although the marshalling yard behind the station is now closed and used for stock storage. Regularly scheduled Speedling services are run by rail freight, long wheelbase four-wheeled vans being run at passenger train speeds. Progress on the East Coast Main Line electrification can be seen in the course of our cab ride. Our locomotive was ScotRail allocated 47517 Andrew Carnegie, named on the 17th of August, hauling the only daytime non-HST train on the East Coast Main Line, the 1535 King's Cross York. After the vital business of refreshments has been dealt with, Inspector John Matton comments on features of interest for us. Progress on electrification can be seen alongside the main line, wires being hung without interruption to traffic.
This place just here, to the pond on the right, is where Dick Walker perfected his Alfie bomb.
We were switched to the slow lines at Sandy in order to allow HSTs to pass on the fast.
40 mile an hour junction.
This is Sandy. We had two stations here at one time, served by us and the Midland region. Yes. One was over on the left-hand side of the Midland region station, and they used to come from Cambridge and go through to Oxford. Oh, yes. We used to cross our line a little bit further up. Yeah. It's a coal-fired power station.
That's the 1550 out of
They wanted to join up.
Yeah.
But, oh yes, I see what you mean. But they wouldn't allow them to. Now, over on the left-hand side, there's a coal yard.
It always amazes me, this 30 mile an hour crossing here. All the blooming lines I've got to play with.
Yes.
At Peterborough, our train is seen arriving from the platform end. The station here was once a notorious bottleneck with offset platforms, but after rebuilding in the 70s is no longer so.
One of them is a customer.
a bit late for me to worry about stuff.
Yeah, down here.
Now we go out onto the main line here. The down slow here, in actual fact, it's called the down Stamford. Now, a bit further on, the line parks. One goes round to Birmingham, Leicester, from Birmingham, and the other one branches off and carries on with our normal slow road up to Stoke. And it branches off at a place called Helston, which is also a level crossing as well. Helston? Helston. H-E-L-P-S-T-O-N. This is the actual measured mile where Mallard achieved the 126 miles per hour.
Hello, Grant. Hi, if you like, guy.
That'd be lovely if they could let that have another go.
Now you can get trains from here. This is a changing point where you can get trains from here that go through to Nottingham and Skegness.
Oh, so there's a double junction north of the station.
There's a junction
To the left.
to the left, just off north of the station, and then the other one is at Farson when we get through the tunnel.
We were delayed at Grantham by a locomotive fault, all hands being needed to correct it.
No, train park governor was all right. It was the control governor.
Control them.
Yeah. I just covered it a couple of times and you got power.
Small touch of drama anyway.
Well, on a thing like that, you generally go on the last thing we're out and that will break it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I went straight to the, but it was, when I covered it, I had to push it down and not up, so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well,
You have a drive to the train.
The East Coast Main Line was once noted for its flat crossings, that at Newark being the only one now remaining.
And they've raised this bridge for the electrification again.
oh, so they're working
Yes,
on it now.
they've been working on it, and they've raised the iron structures above it.
Oh, here.
Here's the line speed, 2 miles an hour.
Oh, well, that's a bit slow.
So we're back to 125 again. That's the line that takes you around to the colliery itself.
I see, yeah.
So it's 37 now.
This is Liverpool Car, which is the road where you can say virtually the start of Doncaster area now.
Yes.
From here on, we've got sidings on either side, and we're further on Bell. There isn't any Belmont now, is there?
What?
There isn't no Belmont sidings now.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Down
Oh,
Belmont.
yeah, up and down Belmont.
Up and down Belmont,
Ah.
yeah. They're down in the back line.
Yeah.
Still a 24-hour pilot there, John.
Oh, yeah.
We used to go in there with the whole train.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Where is the plant?
I'll show you.
Through the back of the station there.
That's the logo, car
That's
logo.
decoy loco.
Car
Black
logo.
car loco.
That's the top in at Belmont, see, up there. Top, what have you.
Just as you get through the bridge itself.
Oh, yes.
You see it on the left-hand side.
Oh, yes.
That's the plan.
That is the plant works over there on the left with the clock on and the flag.
Those coaches there on your right, those were the trial coaches.
Way down in the well.
Yeah, it looks like it. Those were in.
Rail engineering.
That's it.
Say this is Doncaster Station.
We're running down number 4 platform.
HST in the back. Is that where the terminates there?
Yes, it is.
Another HST coming for Leeds.
Oh, yeah.
I don't feel 77.
While stopped at Doncaster, we were passed by two further HSTs, that to Leeds seen passing here.
Everybody likes to get on camera.
Leaving Doncaster going north, you go three ways. You can either go through to Hull, Leeds, or the way we're going is through to York. Now the Leeds branch goes off to the left and the Hull off to the right.
What is the line speed for the Leeds turner?
70.
70 mile an hour,
So they just do it pretty rapid.
Yeah.
Yeah. 70 mile an hour junction.
and you're 25 mile an hour going across the Hull side.
Or Fleethorpes. Or Fleethorpes, John. Or Fleethorpes.
Yeah, 4 Fleethorpes. Only ever went there once
Alright.
on a big one, and that was bad enough.
How about it was, John?
Well, mate. Yeah.
Now you can still go to Hull by Selby. If you go across Selby Bridge and then
The development of the Selby coalfield led to the diversion of the main line from south of Selby to York over the first purpose-built 125 main line in Britain, funded by the Coal Board.
Down at, before you got to Huntington, at Yaxley, you were up against the coloured moon, you know, they call it the Hertfordshire Road. Well, that's the...
the junction itself. You look at in front of you, and there's the junction where you go off either way. No, 125 mile an hour junction.
They used to tell us when they weren't marked, they were 20 mile an hour.
Not many trains go this York way, do they?
There is
One of the freight trains.
not the main, quite a few trains this York.
Yeah, the North Road.
Not a very fast railway around there, you know.
York, when it was built, when it was re-signalled, was the showpiece of the country.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Well, these little ground signals are
Yes,
fantastic.
it was the first actual colour light system that was designed and introduced on such a large scale. And people from all over the world came to visit York signal box.
Fantastic.
On your left used to be the old
Queen Street Loco.
roundhouse logo.
Yeah, Queen Street Loco.
Oh, okay, that must be
Sorry,
there.
no, Queen Street Loco is on the right, and there's a Pacific already in the sidings over there.
Is that?
Yes. You can't see it behind them coaches. I just thought
The Pacific in the York holding sidings was A4 number 9 Union of South Africa, which was booked to work south to London at the end of the week. In the event, she failed and didn't leave York.
is the museum itself.
The following sequence of slides has been provided by Colour Rail. The pre-war scenes include this delightful view of a Great Western Duke-class locomotive pausing at Newbury on a leisurely stroll from Didcot to Southampton. More rapid progress to Southampton could be made from Waterloo. This Bournemouth train is about to leave Winchester, headed by King Arthur-class locomotive King Leo de Grance. The LMS still had a number of pre-grouping 460s in service. This well-cleaned example is Caledonian 14622 at Oban Shed, ready to leave for Stirling and Glasgow. This stopper from Shrewsbury to Crewe, headed by Prince of Wales, class 25725, shouldn't be much of a problem to the crew. This unique view of an A4 in the original silver livery with painted name Silver Link was taken in 1937 at Grantham. Even a mundane hall can look attractive in this fine night shot at Newton Abbot. Swirling steam and fog give a fine impression of the less glamorous side of railway life. The catalogue includes many rare types like this Lancashire and Yorkshire 460, 50455, the last in service, on her final day out in 1951. And Bulleid's Extraordinary Leader class being painted at Eastleigh, still in undercoat without numbers or lining out, all to no avail. The project was killed by Robin Riddles and his team, and few people mourned. The LNER B-12 is seen in Scotland in 1948 in an interim livery, pre-war LNER apple green, but with the BR number. And the mixed train seen at Aberfeldy was a rarity in this country, although common elsewhere in the world, even today. The London transport scene includes delightful rarities like this handsome 444T built by Kerr Stewart and used on the outer suburban services from Harrow to Aylesbury. A more familiar machine is the electric locomotive coming into Baker Street. The preserved Sarah Siddons has done wonders in retirement. Memories of long-forgotten traffic is shown with a Pigeon Special pounding over the departed Somerset and Dorset Railway, headed by a typical combination for that line of a Fowler 4F piloting a 7F. Many of the UK and Irish narrow gauge lines are covered, including the Cavan and Light Trim shown here on the roadside section, where this shot is of two locomotives once active but now walled up in Glasgow Museum. The lovely Caledonian single leads the Highland 460 on a special near Renfrew in 1959. We have a small selection of independent lines, including strange things like this crane tank in use at Doxford Shipyard at Pallion, Sunderland. The Western just had to be different with their hydraulics, and there are plenty of them available, including this unusual view of a warship on the Down Torbay Express tiptoeing through floods west of Exeter. And a more conventional shot of a D1061 coming through Harbury Tunnel with an up Birmingham train. Nor should we overlook the much-loved Deltics, so handsome in their original paint scheme, as were Bulleid's diesels in plain black with silver bogies, all three of which are covered. For your 1984 catalogue, plus the 1985 supplement, plus a sample slide from this fine collection, send £2. We offer return of post service. Use the order form in the newsletter enclosed with this edition of Railscene. During 1985, the Dart Valley Railway acquired a new station, Totnes BR. The railway at last achieved a long-term ambition, that of running into the main station at Totnes, having previously had to make do with a temporary terminus of its own, without access to the town on the opposite side of the River Dart. Procedure is for Dart Valley trains to pick up a BR crew before joining the main line, and to run into the up platform. The Dart Valley provided funds for the partial re-signalling of Totnes, the up-platform starter having a route indicator to give Dart Valley all mainline routes. The original terminal at Totnes Riverside is still used for the first train on Sundays or for special workings. The 16 and 45 tanks, together with an austerity tank, Barbara, are the only locomotives at present passed for use on BR lines. Staverton station is the only intermediate station on the line. It's volunteer maintained and won the Best Preserved Station Award in 1980. It's much in demand for television and film productions, most recently featuring in Lame Ducks. A loop exists to the west of Staverton, currently in use for stock storage. The line follows the course of the river from which it derives its name throughout its length, the epitome of the classic Great Western country branch. Buckfastleigh is the line's headquarters and terminus, the railway having lost a battle with Devon County Council for the right-of-way from here to Ashburton, a new road being deemed more important. Buckfastleigh station houses a museum in which a BT well tank in a strange livery is a permanent resident, together with the only surviving original broad gauge locomotive, Tiny, which used to be on display at Newton Abbot station. The Victorian train is a popular attraction, including fine examples of the clerestory roofed coaches. The two Collet auto tanks are currently out of use, both being in need of extensive repairs and are unlikely to work for some time. Mainstay of the line is the 45 tank, this being the last actual locomotive to run in BR service on the branch. During 1985, both Clun Castle and Colloper provided pleasure for thousands with appearances on the main line. Their very existence owes much to one man, Pat Whitehouse, whose many other achievements include the building up of a vast collection of railway photographs and the publication of many books bearing his name. During the late 50s and early 60s, these scenes opened BBC Television's Railway Roundabout programme. Pat and his partner John Adams shot many hundreds of feet of film for both their own pleasure and their TV programme. Today, the bulk of this priceless collection is housed at the National Railway Museum, but thankfully for us, Dick Griffiths of Sterling Video has been entrusted with the task of making this material available once again on today's medium, video. This film was made at Newton Heath Shed and offers a good opportunity to make some detailed studies. The historical significance of Aspinall's 242 tanks was recognised as far back as 1954, when a sister of this example was laid aside for preservation and restored to original livery as number 1008. 488 of these handsome 060 tender engines were built between 1889 and 1917, and over 50 saw the start of the 60s, a great testimony to Aspinall's design ability. The Worth Valley Railway have a number of X, L and Y locos, including an example of this type of saddle tank, which were rebuilds of earlier Barton Wright tender engines. One of the latter type featured in the film The Railway Children. Such profiles form an integral part of the Whitehouse-Adams Railway Roundabout film collection. Whilst we don't have time here for other than brief glimpses of a few examples from the current video releases, it's worth noting that Pat and John travelled far and wide over many years to record these scenes. As noted photographers and railway enthusiasts, it's a little surprise that their work has so much appeal to all those with a love for the steam locomotive. The second programme, released by Sterling Video based on these films, features over 60 classes of British steam locomotive. However, as filmmakers, the works of Whitehouse and Adams are made to tell a story, and with railways, the natural theme is a journey. Roundabout Revisited Volume 2 is far from just 60 locomotives strung end to end. Nearly 10 minutes are devoted to this excellent film, featuring Super D number 48895 on a freight working from Craven Arms to Llandovery. In 1962, when this film was made, Super Ds were a rare sight at Craven Arms, having been largely displaced by Stanyer 8Fs. The imminent disappearance of the class, combined with the scenic route from Craven Arms to Bluth Wells, was inspiration enough for Pat Whitehouse and John Adams to capture on film the sort of freight working that has disappeared from this and other British lines forever. West of Craven Arms we arrive at Knighton, where additional wagons are to be picked up. Whether steam had lived on for a few decades more, and even if nationalisation hadn't taken place, sadly sights like these were an anachronism, even while these twilight hours scenes were being filmed. With the water capacity of the Super D's tender being 3,000 gallons, this would be little more than a topping up exercise, such a relatively short way from Craven Arms. While a hard-worked Pacific might get through 3,000 gallons in 2 hours, these far less highly stressed freight locomotives were much more economical. The Great Western's Cambrian line ran from Brecon through Bluth Road low level and onto Moat Lane Junction in the north. Our Midland line crosses the Western at the high level station, running into Llandufry, Llandilo, and eventually penetrating as far as Carmarthen in the west. Our journey terminates at Llandufry. During the 1890s, the London and North Western Railway operated through carriages from Euston to this popular area. The line survives as a link between the industrial Midlands of England and the equivalent in South Wales, but not for freight, simply to cater for passenger traffic. Based on the colour films made by Pat Whitehouse, Steam Around Nationalisation is a new sterling video release for Christmas. Classes of steam locomotive abound, both familiar and long gone before the peak of interest in steam spotting in the late 50s and 60s. The programme concludes with a full 15 minutes devoted to the infamous Lickey Incline, all in superb colour. Again, time doesn't permit us to study in depth all the material currently available on video, but suffice it to say a wide variety of journeys, lines and locations come back to life thanks to the existence and current availability of this unique material. One of the favourite mainline approved locomotives, the Duchess, is seen on its final northbound Cumbrian Mountain Express working, being booked to return the following weekend to York for a boiler overhaul. As one locomotive bows out, another takes a bow. Amidst conditions of great secrecy and after when and where and will she ever return to BR questions, City of Truro ran a mystery excursion from Gloucester to Newport and return on Sunday the 20th of October. 48 hours before she ran, only 5 people knew the details, but the grapevine worked wonders and many people turned out to see her, unfortunately heading the BR Executive Liveried excursion set rather than the chocolate and cream set used on the Swindon Gloucesters. SLOA ran 2 Cumbrian Coast Pullmans and 4 Cumbrian Mountain Pullmans for their summer programme. Southern locomotives predominated as Flying Scotsman was not available as booked, although the redoubtable 4498 kept the Northern flag flying. Green Arrow's return was protracted, eventually materialising on the 25th of August on the Scarborough Spa Express. Unfortunately, she failed after working the first leg from York to York, and our only shot was this poor one at Church Fenton. "777 Sir Lemuel took over from Green Arrow on the SSE and, with City of Wells and Evening Star, worked the whole of the summer programme. DMU replacement proceeds apace. The first 142s were delivered to Manchester Newton Heath Depot in Greater Manchester PTE livery and to Lara in a variation on the GW chocolate and cream livery for use in Devon and Cornwall. The first Class 141 rail bus has still not been placed in passenger service and is the only member of its class not to be painted in the West Yorkshire green and cream livery. The private sector has supplied rail buses, the Class 143s, and DMUs in the form of the Class 151 prototypes from Metro Camel, which have now entered service on the Matlock branch from Derby. Amongst many DMU liveries, the most attractive was the chocolate and cream, applied to 2 Western units in connection with GW 150. Once again, Skegness summer trains brought Class 20s on passenger workings, the last but one from Derby being seen here full of the usual collection of perfectly behaved passengers, giving the rail enthusiast fraternity a wonderful reputation. In order to introduce the new Tyne Tees Pullman, BR staged a record run on the East Coast Main Line, achieving 145 miles an hour on the very day Mallard first returned to steam. In the south, GW150 continued apace, despite the cancellation of the Swindon exhibition. Further runs in South Devon featured the two castles. Cluncastle was also the first steam locomotive to visit Cornwall's main line since the end of steam. Our GW150 special features many of the events of the summer and will provide a lasting souvenir of a vintage year for Great Western fans.